Hey there, guys. This is Greg from NFG Customs, and I figure since we've had such a drought of videos and there's been such a bunch of cool stuff coming out from Inception, that we would do another video tonight. Well, live stream, whatever the hell you guys want to call these things. I don't care, you know. So anyway, Inception came out with a barrel muffler attachment for the Stellas. I mean, it's not earth-shattering, but it's definitely a really nice piece of kit to have in your toolbox, especially if you tech guns or you like to sit around and shoot them. And if you happen to have a Stella kit, it's pretty awesome. So basically, so this is what you get. This is $35. You get the muffler and you get the adapter, and these will fit any Inception Stella backs. So pretty cool. But the nice thing is, like, when you're teching your cockers, or really any gun for that matter, the muffler actually will provide a little bit of back pressure, so it'll behave more so. It'll behave similarly to when your gun actually has paint in it. So you'll have back pressure kind of forcing the bolt back instead of just dry firing where, you know, shit's just going all over the place, you know, however it wants to go. So, yeah, I mean, they definitely quiet it down. Now, what I like about these versus the old standby, which is my Eclipse modified with some lead pipe. I mean, the performance. So we're not really getting like true performance based on what the sorry, I gotta apologize. My internet was acting stupid. I got low internet and I was kind of distracted by the message. Anyway, what I was talking about here, train of thought has been derailed, right? So if you look here, there's no venting. So what happens is that, so when you shoot a paintball, you have the ball, it goes down the barrel and it gets to a certain point and it hits the venting and it starts dissipating that gas. When you have this muffler, it really kind of gets all kind of bound up in here. And if you're really shooting an autococker fast, you'll notice it. Like, so if you're, you know, teching a gun and you just want to see how fast it can shoot, you can really kind of pick up on what I'm talking about, because you'll feel the gun, it'll start to behave a little bit differently when you have the muffler on, if you're using one of these. Now, with the Inception one, if you look here, there's vents there. So what that means is that the air is going to vent as soon as it comes out. So it's going to behave a lot more similarly to when you're shooting paint. So you're not really going to have that. I mean, you're probably still going to get a little bit of it's not going to behave exactly the same as it is with paint. So, you know, when you time your guns, you can use these to get 98% of the way there, and then you have to run paint through them to get them the other 2%. But these are a great addition to your toolbox, especially if you're already using a Stella barrel kit. If you have a muffler like I did, you can just take the muffler off. You can buy this piece for $20. And just screw your old muffler on there, and it's great. I mean, this will fit easily into a toolbox or a gear bag or into your nightstand. I mean, maybe you like to lay in bed and, you know, dry fire your autococker. I mean, whatever you freaks do on your own time is, you know, I'm fine with it. You know, no judgment here. This is a no judgment zone. So, yeah. So the next thing I wanted to talk about was, guess what's back in stock, guys? Boom! Gopro mounts. So these are the Inception GoPro mounts. They mount on your barrel. And it's pretty, you know, it's pretty straightforward. But these are really some of the coolest barrel mounts I've seen. So it's basically like a little loop here, and you just slide it over your barrel, and you tighten the screw down with an Allen key, and this little thing here, hang on. Darn packaging. All right, better. Okay, anyway, so then you have these little things here. These will fit into any of the, you know, pretty much any GoPro case or GoPro mount. So these are really great. If you look inside, they have there's like a soft rubber in there. So, well, I don't know if it's rubber or it feels like rubber. But it'll grip your barrel and it won't scratch it. So that's, you know, that's nice. You know, it's nice that they're thinking about that. So it's going to give you a nice firm grip, and it's going to not scratch your gun or your barrel. So you can mount these, you know, above the barrel. You can mount them below the barrel. You can mount them sideways on the barrel. However you want to do it, you can go ahead and do that, and then correct your video and post-processing, or adjust your camera to shoot that way. You have all kinds of options, but these are really, really great barrel mounts. They're simple, they're low profile, and there's nothing here to go wrong. You know, it's like you have a screw and you have your your thing. There's no little pieces to get lost. There's no nonsense there. So this is really the way to go if you're going to be using a GoPro and you want to mount it to your gun. So I do have some of these in stock, so if you want one, give a yell. I don't know how many of these are left. They're popular, and they generally go pretty quick. The last batch I had sold really quick, but I'm keeping these a secret. I'm only telling you guys. So, and you're right, Wes. The GoPros do protect your pneumatics. If you want to protect your $180 pneumatics with a $300 camera, I like the way you think, man. Anything to keep the cocker running. I like it. But anyway, so I have a couple of these. If you want one, let me know, and we'll get them out to you. So, so there's one other thing I kind of wanted to show you guys. So I kind of showed it off a little bit a couple weeks ago, but I got my Signature Series FLE. And for those of you who are not familiar, Simon decided to do a limited run of Signature Series in really cool fades. And since he pretty much knows I'll buy anything green, he made a green one for me. And of course, you know, I bought it straight away. But these are really super nice. And I guess I'll go ahead and show it to you. So here she is. So these guys come really equipped. So you get the V3 reg on them. You get the rip hinge frame on there. You get a matched feed neck. You get a matched ASA. And the reg is anodized to match, except for the collar, which this is not typical. You get two match fronts where you get the fade, and then you also get a whole set of color matched backs. So this is like a super, super nice package. Now these are available right now to the general public. They are I think they're $16.40 for the package. So basically, for an extra $40 over over the cost of like a premium ripper or something like that, you get all the matched barrel backs. You get a nice fade. You get the matched regulator, and you get the rip frame anodized to match. And I got to tell you, the more I play with the rip frames and the more I tinker with them, the more I really like them. I know a couple months ago I posted that video of like me trying to shoot it, and it was abysmal. But I would be willing to bet I am a little bit faster now. So I think I kind of figured it out just, sitting around playing with this guy for the past couple weeks. I think I remembered how to shoot a hinge. But anyway, so for the extra $40, you're really getting a lot. So you're getting you get the matched hinge, you get the updated reg, you get all the matched barrel backs, which, I mean, that means your gun can look sexy all the time. You're out playing, no matter what barrel you're using. You're not using, an off off color barrel just to match your paint, because you have the full set. And these are limited. There's only 50 of these available. So this is like one of the first ones. I think they made one of each. So this is one of the first 3. And then I've sold a few already, and I'm sure other people have sold a few. So by my estimates, there's probably maybe 20, 25 left, which in terms of Inception guns, it really isn't that many. So they're not going to be gone next week, but they're not going to be around in another month or two. So if you're thinking about it, you're going to want to order one. So, because these will never be seen again. So, now, one thing about them, they are a pre-order. So, when you order them, you pay for it, and then your body gets shipped to anodizing, and you get to pick either the blue ice fade or the red and orange fire fade, which both are incredibly sexy. So yeah. So you do that, it's going to go to Anno. So it's going to be a few weeks until the gun comes. But then it's going to show up. Simon himself is going to assemble it. And if you get it through me, it's going to ship to me. And then I'll go through the gun and I'll tweak it up a little bit for you, because it's the signature series. It's got to shoot the best. So I'll definitely hook those up for you. So yeah, so if you want one, let me know. There's not going to be a ton of these guys left. Once tax season hits, they're going to start going. They really are. So yeah. Mike, no, I didn't get the blue one today. I have a blue one coming in next week. And I'll show it to you. It's, I did get to see one a while back, and they're hot. I mean, they're just so hot. They look so good. I could not be happier with how they turned out. I mean, this is really a great fade, and this isn't even the final version. I mean, this is a prototype of this anodizing. This is the only one they did with this, and it's very, very clean. I mean, the fade point is in a good spot. It's even. It looks great. You know how sometimes you get those, you get the fades and you have a line, but it's like really, really, it's like too big and it doesn't look right. This doesn't have that. This thing just looks great. And this one is actually like a satin finish, so it's not really, a gloss. It's not really dust. It's more of a satiny feel. So it feels really good. So I really can't wait to take this guy out to the Polar Bears game at Top Gun in a week or two and get this all coated up with blue paint, and then that'll probably stain it up, and I'll probably scratch it or something. Nah, that's not going to happen. But it will go out, and I will be shooting people in the noggin with it, because that's what I do. But yeah, so if you want one, let me know. They're gonna start flying off the shelves. I might order ahead and get a couple, but I wouldn't. I probably would not count on that. Usually, when I do that, I end up selling them out as quickly as they come. So enough of me showing off my own toys. Look at this. I love this thing is so gorgeous. I love green paintball guns, especially autocockers. So anyway, so one other thing I kind of wanted to show you guys. Oh, did you guys see this ripper? Oh, look at that. That thing is so sexy. Do they look good like you? Nothing looks that good, Peng. Nothing looks that good. So I got one other gun here I want to show you guys. And reason being, there hasn't been too many of these making it out into the wild. And I think this is the incorrect one. Oh no, it's the right one. So, as you know, the past 12, yeah, I guess 12, yeah, about 12 months. So there was a couple of prototypes in there, and the first production delivery of the rippers. I received the first production one, which actually went to our buddy Mike Kwan, who's on. The first production rippers started shipping in December of last year, so it's right around 12 months. And they were all of the full bodies. So right here, for your eyes to feast upon, here we have a mini ripper in blue acid. So this thing is, this is just sick. This is seriously just a beautiful, beautiful looking gun. I don't know. I wish the light was a little better so you could really see the blue, but it's, yeah, it's really gorgeous. So there's, I'm not sure how many of the minis there are. I don't think there's really that many of them. But I think that these just look great. I think the Ripper actually looks really spectacular as an Inception mini. I like it because it has kind of a more traditional profile than than the extended reach, which the Ripper this is kind of a take on a classic design, so it really kind of it just really looks good. I really like these. So yeah, so there's going to be some minis that are going to be coming through. And like I talked about the other day, we actually have the last red premium full body Ripper. So if you want a full body Ripper, I literally have the last one that came from the Inception factory. So there are no more full bodies after that. So there's some other dealers that might have some, but there are no more. So once that stock is gone, that's it. If you didn't get one, you're going to have to try and hit the used market, and there really hasn't been that many of those sold. So out of I think there was 100 of the full body Rippers made, maybe a few more than that. But out of that 100, I think I've seen maybe 4 crop up over the past 12 months after they've been sold. So, especially the premium ones. I think a couple of the black ones have sold, but if you want the fancy factory anno ones, those are much harder to come by. I think there was a couple of the black ones that that got passed around a little bit in the very beginning, but by and large, all the colored ones I've sold except for 2 have stayed with their original owners. So that kind of talks a little bit about how much guys really like these Rippers. And I mean, once you get them, these things just shoot so good. I mean, I have hands down my Ripper. I have a green one, and that's also a prototype. It's the second retro Ripper of the run. So that one's mine. And it is hands down my favorite autococker I have ever shot. I love that gun. It's set up perfect. It's just ball on ball just really shoots great. So I love it, and you can never have it. So anyway, I was going to do some tech videos tonight, but it's really cold down here. I don't really feel like doing it. And my heater's out of gas. I got a buddy heater for down here so I can, do stuff. But I need to go get more propane for it. So, so I guess we can take a few minutes. Does anybody have any questions? Anything you want to talk about? Anything you heard? What's the rumor mill? What's going on, guys? We can talk about anything. I think there might even be a way I can let you guys in on the video somehow, if you have something you want to say. I don't know if you guys noticed or not, but we do have Mr. Peng on Mr. Pengkin on the chat with us tonight. He actually just took over. He's going to be taking over Indiana Autococker repair from Dustin Parmley. Unfortunately, Dustin is he's doing some stuff to kind of give himself a better situation. So he needs to take a step back, and he's passed the reins over to Peng. So let's everybody make sure you go over to Indiana Autococker repair and bust his balls. Just like you guys are constantly busting my balls, give him some of that same love. So thank you. I'd appreciate that. Yes, Wes, ICC signups coming up soon. It's like the first week of February. So yeah, that's going to be a big deal. We, NFG Customs, we will be on site out there just like we have every other year. And we were one of the original vendors. ICC 1, there was 2 vendors there. There was Inception Designs and there was NFG Customs. And we have been there every year since then. So, we've been supporting the mechanical movement from the beginning. We were, when Lane had his tournament in Atlanta, we went to Atlanta. When we tried to go to the Fight Club 10-man, the first one, but unfortunately, I kind of wrecked my RV that year, so that really kind of put a damper on going out to the Fight Club 10-man, because it was, I just couldn't get it replaced in time, so we didn't get to go to the Fight Club 10-man, but we wanted to go. We were planning on going. We've, we supported the 7-man Masters last year, so we're going out, we're hitting these events because we want to support you guys, the player, and help you guys go to an event and have a great time. There's nothing worse than going to an event and, it's something like ICC or the Atlanta Open or whatever, and it's, these events are special, and you really don't want to have them ruined by your gun not working. So we want to be there to help you guys keep your guns up and running so you guys can play and have fun and have good memories instead of, oh yeah, I remember that tournament, my gun was a piece of shit. So at least you can be like, yeah, my gun was a piece of shit, but I took it over the guys at NFG, and then I went and I shot like fucking 30 guys, and it was great. So yeah, so that's those are the kind of memories we want to give you. Make sure that they're not tarnished by tarnished too badly by disagreeable autocockers. I'm trying to think about anything else to talk about. Yeah, I'm drawing a blank. I've been, to be honest, I've been like really, really busy. So I took a new job, and it's just been really, really, really busy. Hopefully that'll kind of, even off, in the coming weeks. Is you know how it is. You start your job, you get in there, you get in the groove, and then things start getting a little bit easier. So I think I'm kind of over the hump now. Now it's just a matter of waiting for everything to kind of fall into place. So I appreciate everybody kind of hanging out with me, because it's been trying. It's been a lot of work. It's been very, very difficult for me. So I used to work at Lockheed. I was there for like 13 years, and it was really, really tough to leave. And it's, just a huge amount of stress, just a huge change in my life. So I appreciate y'all sticking with me. It's pretty awesome that you guys do that. So, yeah. So I don't really have anything else to say. I guess we will have a chat next week when the blue signature series comes in, because I do want to show you guys one of the actual production models. The green is not production. I kind of Simon probably made it for me. He knew I'd buy it, so yeah. Anyway, Bill Bailey says, how can we get more fields to hold mechanical tournaments across the U.S.? Well, to be honest, Bill, I think that we run a risk of saturating the market when it comes to mechanical events. So, one of the things, so out here on the East Coast, one of the things that we've seen is, everybody, points to the success of ICC. Everybody points to the success of the ICPL, and they're like, oh, geez, I want to jump on that. And that's great. But what people need to understand is not every event is going to be a major event. Not every event is going to be, ICC. Not every event is going to be ICPL. And I think that, we're getting to this point where there's all these events kind of cropping up. We really need to something really starts to need to gel up as far as, a legitimate league. So, we had the MPPL, and in my brain, that was, probably one of the best formulas for mechanical paintball. It was, you had, 5 events. You had 4 events that were pretty much regional events. There was basically, so what do we have? You had Pittsburgh, Chicago. There was one out in California, one in Texas or something. I forget, but they moved them around. Sometimes they did them in Vegas. Sometimes they did them in California. And then everybody kind of came together at World Cup. So you would have teams that would travel. They would hit, at least, one event. A lot of them hit 2 events. And then there was a few more that would hit 3 events. And then there was, the pro teams, they would hit, all 4 of the regional events. And then they would all go to World Cup. And by having that league, and you had, the events were spread out, they were quarterly. So you could, you had a pretty good pace as far as, what you were going to do. And since these events tend to be, larger events, they're 10-man events, it is so hard to get 10 guys to show up and commit and, and practice and have the money. The biggest thing that rips apart 10-man teams is you always get those guys that don't have money. They, they want to play, they want to do it, but then, something always crops up. And it's life. Unfortunately, you can't always put your paintball team and, your fun hobby in front of, feeding your family. But, now the reality is, most of us guys that are playing these events, we're older, we're grown up, we have, we have disposable income, but we want to pay for quality. So I think that, in order for us to do this, we could go back to a model that's very similar to the MPPL, in my opinion, where you have 4 events, then you could get, guys could go to as many or as few of those events as they want to go to. And they could, and then everybody can kind of go down and do a World Cup event or something like that. So in my brain, I think that would be spectacular, because it's, the events are far enough apart where you don't have to worry about, taking too much time off of work. You're not breaking the bank on airfare. You're not, because it's expensive to go to a tournament. You're paying for hotels, you're paying for airplane tickets, you're paying for your paint, you're paying your entry, rental cars, all that stuff, and it all adds up real quick. And if you're doing that 4 or 5 times a year, but it's evenly spaced, so you can drop your $500 or $1,000 or whatever it is, and then you at least got 3 or 4 months until the next event, and then you drop your another 3 or 4 grand or $1,000, and you got another 3 or 4 months to do that. If it's planned out right, it could be it could be successful. But the key is the events can't all be stacked on top of each other. So like out here on the East Coast, so we have an event. It's we have ICC, and then literally 2 weeks later this year we had the East Coast Open at OCC or OXCC, and the problem is that the event at OXCC is a spectacular event. I mean, that is like seriously one of the nicest fields I've ever played on. It's a great field. They have woods, they have bunkers, they have the old school forts. They have anything that you want is there at OXCC. It's such a fun field. But the problem is that it's literally 2 or 3 weeks after ICC. So all these guys, everybody goes all in for ICC, and then you only have a few teams that really have that money to be able to turn around and do it again. So you're not going to be able to draw the guys like they're not going to be able to get Aftershock to come in from Chicago after they just, came in 3 weeks ago to go to Pittsburgh. You're not going to get any of the West Coast teams. You're not going to get, you're not going to get them. You're going to get the local teams, which is fine. But you're not going to have a big event. So, and I think that, for that field, that would be a great place to have a big event. So a lot of it really comes down to, it's the schedule is getting crowded. It's just like scenario games, right? So pretty much from, March, like middle of March, straight up through October, there's pretty much a scenario game going on somewhere within a 4-hour drive of me every weekend. So there is no, there's no breather. So it's like you have teams, they want to, there's tons of weekends or double and triple book. So you have teams splitting up, trying to hit, 2 or 3 different events. There's just so much going on. There's just such an oversaturation of scenario games that it's tough to get one that's really super special or super awesome, because it's just, there's just so much out there. The competition is so thick that, it's really hard for fields to get enough players to really have a really big successful scenario. There's a couple that stand out. So, like Ion up at Skirmish, I mean, that's a madhouse. They get 5,000 people or something there. It's nuts. And if you've never gone, it's worth going. Come on up. NFG will be there again this year. So yeah, come on up. It's awesome. You can sit around with us and eat barbecue and help us fix autocockers, and drink beer. And it's really a great time. And then you have, Living Dead at On Target Paintball. That's another, it's a popular event because it's a unique event, and they don't really go crazy, but they get probably 600 or 700 people there, which for around here is pretty good. And then you have Dark Ops at Cousins Paintball, which is another one of my favorite fields and games. So Dark Ops is really cool because it's the event that kicks off the year, and it's also the event that winds down the year. So it happens in March, and then it happens again in November. And it's always like the first hurrah and the last hurrah. And it's a good deal. It's usually $55 or $65 or something. That gets you a case of paint, an entry, and you get to go play I love the Cousins field. It takes me back to when I was, 19, 20 years old. And it's out in the Pine Barrens in Jersey, where it's all sand and pine trees, and the terrain's all really cool. You can fall down and hurt yourself. It could pour, and it doesn't get muddy because the ground drains so fast. Just such a great place to play. But, those are like kind of the big standout scenario games because they're, they execute them well, they're done consistently, and they have a reputation of being good. And, but then aside from that, a lot of the other games are just noise. You just, guys throw, they decide that, oh man, I need to have an event, and they're not looking at what the other fields around them are doing. And then they end up, unfortunately, the field owners, they're kind of shooting themselves in the foot by just stacking all these games. But I also understand from their perspective, they have to make their money somehow. And, if a field has one good scenario game, that can pay bills for quite a long time. So, yeah, that's really kind of, I think the biggest danger that we're going to be facing is really saturation as it comes to the, scenario games and also the mechanical tournaments. Because every time you have a mechanical tournament and, they're close together, it's drawing money. There's only a set amount of money out there for mechanical events. So, in order for that to be successful, we need to focus that money into, fewer events of higher quality. And I think that, I think that things are sort of kind of starting to move that way. We saw the ICPL kind of form up last year. And I was really kind of hoping to see that it would become more events, but it's 2 events again this year. And I don't know, I don't really follow the politics of it, but, I don't know. I don't get into those kind of discussions with people. I just kind of, here are my observations based on the questions. I know Tom Cole puts on a great event. He's a super nice guy. And Tim Montresor, he's really a super nice guy, and he puts on one hell of an event. ICC is really awesome. It's a great event. So we usually have 4 other big games going on during our Monte Casino game in April. Yeah. You guys probably see that. And in Monte Casino, that is a legendary game. That's one on the bucket list. And the tough part is that, if you have, 2 or 3 other fields that are within, 4, even 5 hours of you, it's going to draw people away from your game, because the guys that were going to drive 3 hours are like, oh, you know what, I can drive an hour and a half and go play this game. And the likelihood of them doing that is probably pretty high. I know for me, I used to go up to EMR all the time. It's like 2.5 hours from me. And, I'd go up, I would play Castle Conquest. I would play the Western Wars game. I would play all these games. But, there's so many games now within an hour of me that I don't need to drive up to EMR anymore. And they're good games. They're well-produced games. They're fun. And the nice thing is I know everybody there because it's the same crew showing up game after game. So I know everybody. Whereas I go up there, I'm going to see, people that I don't know. There's less likely that I'm going to find people that I know there. So I'm really less inclined to go up there and play unless if I'm taking a group up there. So, or going with other people or, however you want to word it. So yeah, it definitely hurts. So, I do remember back in the day when, there used to be a couple of fields that were like kind of close to each other down here, near me. And every year they would get together and the 3 field owners would get together and they would put on a big game at the largest field, which at the time, I think it was, I think we usually did it at Cobra Command, but it was, that was out in Lansdale. That was like kind of the biggest of the 3 fields. And the guys would come in and, they would all kind of help out and do the game. And it was always a fun game. And, so I really I wonder if, it was like the Army Navy game or something like that. And this was really this was a long, long, long time ago. But, I wonder if that, if that's a model that, that could work, where you get a couple of, a couple of fields together, and, you put on a big game, and it's, brought to you by this field and that field. And, you guys amass as many players as you can, and you just kind of, split the profits down the middle. Both squads help out, both fields help out. I mean, that's got to be a better model than, because you think about it, you have fields kind of, you have fields competing. They're doing more than competing for the customer. They're competing for the extra referees that they need to bring in. They're competing for the food trucks. They're competing for the porta potties. They're competing for all that. So maybe, there's a model that, that could maybe kind of thin out that scenario saturation and, make it just, a better event. Yeah, exactly, Bill. I think working together is what created paintball. And I think we really need to go back and start looking at our roots and looking at where we came from, to really, to really bring this sport back. And one of the reasons I'm so passionate about, about the mechanical stuff is that it's a brand of paintball that I feel good about, taking my kids to and showing my kids. My oldest son is 12, and, he started playing paintball like 2 years ago. And, his first game I took him to the Alamo game at Top Gun, and we had a blast. We really had a lot of fun. That's a good game. It's a lot of good guys tend to go to that game. A lot of people that I've known for years and years and years. So it was it was a game that I felt confident about taking my kid to, and we had a blast. And now he likes going with us to the tournament events. I took him I drug him kicking and screaming to ICC because I knew we were just going to need another set of hands, and he ended up loving it and had a blast. And he went again this year, and he wants to go, he wants to tag along to all the events, because he has, so much fun. So yeah, I definitely agree with you there, Bill. I think that, there's a lot of guys that are jumping into this, into mechanical just because it's the hot thing and it's the way to make a quick buck. And I think that, there's nothing wrong with that. It's something I expected that to happen, but then there's, a few companies out there that are really doing a good job. They care about the products that they're putting out, and they're really trying to do what they can to grow, to help grow the sport. You can't deny that, Simon and Inception Designs were key players in bringing this mechanical movement forward. Nobody else was investing in autocockers except Simon. He first started building bodies. People said he was nuts, but he would do 30 bodies. He'd sell out of them. He'd do 50 bodies. He'd sell out of them. So he convinced the powers that be at Empire /Key / whatever the hell it was called at the time. He convinced them to build the Resurrection, and that proved that there is a market for that style of play. So, but then he went off. He started Inception. He started making his GoPro mounts and his the Pico loaders, and then the Stella kit came, and this came, and that came, and then before we knew it, I wouldn't say before we knew it. It was a lot of work. But there was, there was whole guns, the full Inception retro guns. And during that time, for a long time, he was the only one who was making autococker parts. He was the only one trying to revive that, that thing. And then once that started picking up steam, then we saw, so Meteor then jumped on board. And they came out with some really cool designs, and unfortunately that fell apart for whatever reason it was. And then on the other side, then soon after Meteor, then Danny and Rennick got back into it with Shock Tech, and they are, and we all know the story. They did a run of 50 of the SFL, the classics, and it took a while. It was really it sucked for them. I feel bad for them, but they proved that by doing those 50 guns and selling those 50 guns, they proved that there was still a market for Shock Tech out there. Buddy Barr, he's out there. He's proven that there's a market for free flow out there. And the nice thing is that generally the guys that play this style of paintball, they're going to have more than one gun. I know there's guys like me. I wouldn't call myself a hoarder, but I have a pretty decent collection of autocockers. But I have them for a reason. I like to give them to my friends. So when I go and I take my friends to play, I give them autocockers. My buddy Terry, I took him to play a couple weeks ago at Dark Ops. I let him use my Predator. This guy. This is the one. This is the one that originated the SST trigger pull. This is the prototype right here. And he handed it back to me filled with paint. Pink, nasty paint. I just got done cleaning it, and it's still not clean. I need to go give it a bath. Can you believe that? No respect. No respect for this gun, I tell you. But yeah, I mean, we have guys, and if the designs that are coming out are, if they look good, and if they kind of, if they can kind of tweak a nerve, then you can sell a lot of guns. And I think that it's really cool that that guys are willing to do that. Yes, Bill, you're a hoarder. I'll give you that. You have a lot of guns, and you have a lot of guns I want. But yeah, I mean, and all this, it all goes back to what Simon did. He went out on a limb when nobody else was building these things. I mean, I remember, the first time I heard, somebody, Simon's making autococker bodies. I'm like, what the hell is he thinking? I'm like, who's going to buy autococker bodies? And then I got to thinking, I'm like, I'd build an autococker. I'd do that. And I think that, but what's cool is it's getting all these guys, out of the woodwork that haven't played in, 10, 15, 20 years. We're seeing pros come back that haven't played in forever. And it's like, it's everybody's, I don't want to say last hurrah, but it's a great way to get together with your buddies from the old days, go out and shoot people, break their balls, and just have a grand old time. And I think that brand of paintball, you can't beat it. When we move to the current tournament model where it's, the NXL, I think it took a turn from being a fun, exciting sport to be more of a grind. And I've talked about it before, but this summer I went to my first NXL event. So the NXL came about it came about right around the time when I stopped playing tournament paintball. And it was actually one of the reasons why I stopped, because I just really had no desire to play that style of paintball. And I went to my first NXL event at the Philadelphia one, which wasn't far from my house, and I mean, everybody there was just miserable. Nobody was in a good mood. The vendors were in a bad mood. The players were pissy. I mean, the spectators were, nobody was having fun, and that really just kind of. I mean, I spent a few years playing in the MPPL, and I never saw an MPPL event like that. It was, an MPPL event was always full of energy. You had this, everybody was, having fun and joking around, and if you had a bad game, people were pissed off and yelling and fighting and everything else. But it was an event. You know, there was stuff going on. It wasn't just a whole bunch of people moping around and then going to play a few minutes of paintball and then coming back and moping around some more. And it was really kind of, it definitely got me thinking about, you know, why mechanical has really taken off. And I think a lot of it is just, it goes back to fun, you know. So yeah, Bill, you're right. We got old, and we got old man money now, and we can afford whatever we want. So that's what we're doing. We go out, we buy, you know, 20 frickin' autocockers to hang on our wall and look at, and then the 3 times a year our wives let us go out and play, we take all 20 guns and we play like 5 minutes with each one, you know. And the downside is we got to carry 2 tanks. We got to carry our nitro tank, and we got to carry an oxygen tank so we can get our asses on and off the field, because every one of these fields is like, you know, 10-mile walk to the, you know, to the insertion point and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah. Yeah, I think there's definitely, I think this year is going to be a pivotal year as far as the mechanical stuff goes. I think that we really need to start seeing some sort of league really gel up. You know, it seems like the, you know, ICPL would be the logical forerunner for that, since they, you know, they have the NXL behind them. They already have 2 events, and the events they've been putting on they've been good events from what I've heard. But I don't know if that's the direction it's going to go. But you know, we'll see. You know, we'll just see how it goes. I mean, to be honest, I would be happy if there was, you know, two ICPL events and 2 ICC events, and then, you know, you have an East Coast and a West Coast for each, or in the case of ICPL, they have a Chicago event and a and a Florida event. Because it really is, in my head, it's really difficult to talk about having a unified league like that without the Badlands. Like, you can't, there's not any equation in my head where you can have a mechanical league and not have, you know, the Badlands, you know, Rennick Miller's signature field. You can't, the equation just doesn't work out without it. It's such a classic field. So many, you know, amazing classic moments happen on that field. It's legendary. So, you know, I think I would like to see an East Coast, a West Coast, a Chicago event, and then, you know, something maybe like Texas or Mardi Gras. How cool would it be to do a Mardi Gras event again, as part of that series? I mean, man, I think about that event. I didn't even play that event, and it was amazing. And then, you know, finish it out in Florida at the end of the year, and just, you know, rinse and repeat. But you know, you hit the classic fields, you do and you know, you space the events out far enough, and I think you got a winner. You know, I think the MPPL model, it wasn't, you know, nobody was getting rich off of it, but it was a good model, and it worked because every event you had a decent number of teams out there. You know, it was enough to where, you know, you had a solid 2 or 3 days of paintball, and then, you know, everybody for a week, and you know, in the fall, and that was just how it went. Yeah, Huntington Beach, that would be a good event. That's a little bit after my time. I think most of the West Coast events when I played MPPL were in Vegas. I'm pretty certain. A Mardi Gras commemorative marker in purple and pink fade. Yeah, somebody probably buy that. I think I don't know. I would just love to see that event again. That was just such a spectacular event. Just an amazing, amazing event. And that's another thing I was really kind of thinking about, like the NPPL venues, like it just seems like they're not conducive to that whole, like that team building, party, having fun kind of thing. I don't know. Like the NXL this year was near me was in, yeah, it rained every NPPL event, everyone. It was in Bluebell, Pennsylvania, which they were marketing it as Philly, and it's really not Philly. It's like 45 minutes to an hour outside of Philly, even longer with traffic. And, there's like restaurants and some hotels around there. But like, there's not like, I don't know, there's not like any place to go and like, basically raise hell, I mean, I remember, I have some insane stories that I'm not willing to put in a recorded, thing on the internet. I have some insane stories from those days of, going to events and shit that happened. And, and those guys, I'm still friends with them, we still talk and we still laugh about the events, the stuff that happened. I couldn't tell you, what we placed or who was doing what or what happened at the I can tell you about all the we did outside of that, outside of the event. So, and I wonder, yeah, we have bail money now. Exactly. But I think, I think that's also part of it. It's, you don't really, these events don't really have that. And I don't know, maybe this generation is legitimately different from us in that regard. Maybe they don't, maybe they are a little bit more business-like. Maybe they go to hotels and play Mario Kart. I don't know. It's, it's kind of a tough thing to wrap your head around, I think, but maybe, maybe that's really kind of, the thing. Maybe they're just, that much different from those of us who grew up, cutting our teeth in the 90s. Oh, yeah, shenanigans was definitely half the fun of going to tournaments. I mean, it's because I'll tell you what, some of the worst tournaments that I played in were the ones where we performed the best, but we didn't have as much fun because, we were, staying focused, to get the win. But the greatest tournaments were the ones where we went there and we ate shit the first day, and then we just had the whole weekend to go and do whatever we wanted. But I'm definitely curious to see what's going to happen this year. And I think for this, for this mechanical, I think that, we really have, we're at this point where I think we need to be smart about it. We need to figure out how to grow it, because I'm really feeling that we're starting to get to this point of saturation where we have, so think about it, the last 12 to 16 months, we had, we went from, one autococker producer to 4 autococker producers. We lost one, Meteor. They basically are no more. I guess Fab is still making parts and doing stuff in France, but I don't know. I don't know that there's anybody stateside that's doing anything with it, importing it. So we already lost one of the gun companies, and we have, there's events that are just all over the place. I mean, it's getting to the point where there's literally a mechanical event, 2 or 3 times a month. And that's a problem because, all these little events crop up. Everybody's trying to cash in and get their own little piece. And it's hurting the overall thing because guys are, they're playing, they're playing these other events and not kind of concentrating everything into the main events. So I think that ultimately is going to hurt the quality. And that's another thing that can, that really concerns me is that, we have these small events and, they're not run by guys who know how to do and there's an event in my brain that I'm thinking of, and I'm not gonna talk about it. But there's an event in my brain that I'm thinking about it where, they could have a great event, but they were just way too focused on trying to turn a buck instead of just, going all in and putting in a good event. So people need to understand that you need to earn it. You need to deliver first, and then, you'll be able to be successful. Things like, the GPL. So like that was like one of the biggest events on the East Coast, or the biggest series on the East Coast. That didn't just happen overnight. That started off. It was years of, small events, and every event got a little bit bigger. And then, it went from 3 events to 4 events, 4 events to 5 events. And I mean, I remember the first ones, literally, we were playing on 2 fields. We were playing on a hyper field and a crappy field on a hill where, if you got the top side, you could shoot a freaking mile all the way to the poor on the lower side of the hill in the corner. But, that event grew and grew and grew until it was, something really, really big. Same thing with PL. That's another big event that kind of grew like that. And the, there's, but, people see the mechanical events. They see that, these guys are doing it. They're getting a turnout and they're making profit. And, they want to get their name. They want to get their brand in on that. And the problem with that is it's just creating too much noise. And, as much as I want to support, the mechanical movement, we really need to be smart about it as an industry, as a whole. And we need to figure out ways to where when we do these events, we're helping each other out, not cannibalizing each other, not eating everybody else's lunch. You figure out the best way. You get, it's like you get 2 or 3 fields together, and you run a tournament series between you. You do an event at one field, you do an event at another field, but events, all the staff comes together, the owners come together, everybody helps out, and then you just split the profits down. And what that's going to do is you're going to have more teams coming to those events because, you're not cannibalizing each other. You're going to be able to give better prizes, so you're going to be able to attract more teams, so you're going to be able to make more money. Instead of just being like, an event, well, I'm going to run one the week before just to, so I can make that money. It's not a good way, it's not really a good way to grow the sport the way that we're doing it. This is, I don't want to sound like one of those doomsday guys, but I really think that this resurgence of mechanical I think it's legitimately paintball's last chance to be, I really feel like this is paintball's last chance. Once I feel like, once this generation of guys, I don't know if generation is the right word, but once this, this group of, of mechanical people, the guys who are really supporting mechanical now, once we're done with it and in the nursing home or wherever the hell we're going to be, I think we're going to be, the sport is either going to be passed on or it's going to die on the vine. And looking at how things were, basically looking up and how things were up until the mechanical movement started, paintball was really dying on the vine. The recession just really kind of, it killed the sport, and it never really kind of got back until we started seeing, this resurgence in mechanical. And guys are going to say, oh, well, MagFed, that was, that's like the big thing. I think that, you had a lot of guys switching over to MagFed because for whatever reason they found it attractive. But it was, you had guys coming over from traditional paintball to play MagFed. You had guys coming from airsoft to play Mag. And yeah, you would get some new players. The attrition, so you always have to factor in the attrition. We were not getting enough new players, even factoring in MagFed. We weren't getting enough new players in the sport to the guys that were leaving the sport. And the reason why is, guess what? It wasn't fun. It was no fun. I mean, you would go out and I remember going to scenario games and I would literally see dudes shooting 10, 15, 20 cases of paint. And that's more paint than I shoot in a year at scenario games. I go to a scenario game, I get a case, maybe 2 cases. And I get a ton of kills. I have a blast. I'm not shooting the shit out of people. But you got guys out there, it's they're just blowing through paint left and right. They'll dump 5 pods on you and not even be able to hit you. They'll just shoot 5 pods at a tree or a berm or whatever the hell. And, it's not fun and it's not sustainable. And yeah, maybe it's kind of fun to go out there and just, shoot that much. But I'll tell you what, you're not going to be doing that, every weekend unless if you got a really, really good job. There's no way in hell I would go out at the way paint prices are. I'm not saying they're high. Shit, I played back when paint was, $120 a case. So I don't want to hear anybody bitching about paint prices nowadays. But, you go out and you're playing an event, it's $50, $60 a case. There's no way I'm shooting 10, 15, 20 cases of paint. Especially if, that's more paint than what we would use in a tournament back in the day. For a 5-man tournament, 20 cases. Nuts. But the problem is that, playing like that isn't fun for anybody. Nobody wants to go out. Nobody wants to get shot up. You want to go out. Yeah, you want to shoot people. It's okay to get shot a couple times. You get shot 2 or 3 times. Whatever, that's part of the game. But when you're going out and you're just getting hosed, that's not fun. It's you're going to get to the point where it's I think I'm just going to stay home and watch football. Because it gets old. It may be exciting and fun, the first couple of times, but then it gets really old. What really needs to happen is, we need to be respectful of each other. We need to be respectful of new players, but ultimately, respect goes a long way. And I think that, if everybody just kind of gave each other a little bit more respect in this sport, I think everybody would be better off. We have you have these companies out here that rip each other off. And I'm thinking about my buddy over at Evil Gerbil. He's really invested a ton of time, a ton of money into, bringing back a lot of these old school things. So the big baggy, Renegade style jerseys and the cool head wraps and all that kind of stuff. And he's been doing a lot of his own kind of designs, his own spin on this, which is really super cool. He was doing this one thing where he had one style of headband and then he would put slashes of a different camo or a different pattern or whatever in there. And it just looks super cool. And then 3 months after that, you got HK or whatever putting their shit out. And, you know, it's like, okay, you know, way to go. You know, way to design your own shit. I mean, I guess that kind of, it's a testament to, you know, his creativity, but it's also sucks because guess what? People are going to, you know, HK is a marketing machine and Evil Gerbil is, you know, my buddy and his girlfriend or fiance now. So, you know, where's the respect? Everybody's so quick to bite off of each other and screw each other. And, you know, there's just really no, you know, there's no honor among the thieves anymore. And, but I think that, you know, within the mechanical movement, I think that, you know, you really do, I think you see that, I think you see a lot of that respect and honor kind of come back. I mean, you know, from our perspective, you know, from my perspective as a, you know, as a cocker, you know, as a, you know, I own a cocker tech company and we sell a lot of guns. You know, I'd like to think that, I know I try to help, you know, my other, you know, my other tech friends out. So like, if you notice tonight, like, you know, Peng stopped in and he was shooting the shit with us for a little bit. And, you know, he's kind of, you know, came up into the scene the past, you know, couple of years as a, you know, as a good cocker tech. Dustin Parmley. I mean, he's a great friend of mine. I talk with him all the time about all kinds of shit. I mean, it was kind of funny. We actually like started talking about air fryers like 6 years ago. And then all of a sudden we found out we were into autocockers and all this other stuff, and it was pretty cool. So, but you know, he's a good friend of mine, and you know, we help each other out. You know, if, you know, he has parts and I need them, you know, we'll make a trade or, you know, whatever, you know, we're always trying to help each other out. You know, other dealers, you know, it's, I mean, I saw a lot of Inception stuff. But, you know, and there's times when, you know, I need parts and, you know, things are out of stock and I got to deliver, but, you know, never would I ever go to another dealer and say, well, you know, I'm going to, you know, can you sell this to me at dealer cost? Never. I'm going to go to their website. I'm going to purchase that, you know, that part at whatever retail is, because it's not right to me. You know, it wouldn't be right in my brain to go and take away his profit for my own gain. So, you know, I think that, you know, that type of respect is definitely the way to go, you know? So, I mean, you know, this, you know, recently I needed to get a bunch of parts for, you know, to finish up a bunch of stuff that I had. And, you know, I went out to, you know, the Paintball Gateway and Mean Gene out at Autococker Parts. And, you know, I bought these things and I paid for, you know, and, I feel like such a dick. I can't remember their name, but they're up in New York, up near West Point. But anyway, you know, I bought a whole bunch of parts off of these guys, and I just go on their website and I order it, or I go on eBay and I buy it and whatever. Exactly. And yeah, Bud and Tom K. That's a great example of, and these were they were fiercely competitive brands. They still are. You know, you're talking what, 30 some years later, and I mean, we still pick on Automag guys about being gay, and the Automag guys still pick on us about being dorks or whatever. And yeah, I mean, there's still kind of a fierce competition there 35 years later. And those two guys, I mean, you know, they really helped each other out. I think that, I mean, I know Bud Orr did a lot of, you know, helped Tom K out a lot, and I would assume that Tom K probably helped Bud out a lot. But between the two of them, they were both able to build very, you know, pretty big and very successful companies. And what is really especially amazing to me is how much of the things that they built that came out of the companies that those two guys came up with, how much that stuff is still around and it's still relevant. I mean, I remember all through, the past 10 or 15 years when, electros were, the undisputed kings, with the, egos and, you had the egos and the luxes and all this stuff. And, I would still go out with an autococker and I would still shoot the shit out of people with an autococker just to be like, well, hey, I like shooting it and it's still absolutely relevant and competitive. And now you have, the modern autococker, which, Simon Stevens pioneered that. It's, he looked for ways not just, make them again, but make them better. How can we make this platform better? How can we make it more more reliable? What can be done? And he lightened it up. He improved the pneumatics. He locked all the adjustments down. Just countless little things. And there's still, he's still refining. And case in point, look at the new regs. The new V3 regs they're amazing. They look spectacular. They perform good. But it's another refinement to a rock solid, to a rock solid platform. And it just really is a testament to, it really goes to show, how timeless of a design the autococker really is. And even the Automag. It's definitely not as big as autocockers, but there's, the Automag segment is definitely growing and getting bigger. And I would love to see a resurgence of Automags just like the autococker. Ooh, excuse me. I know that Airgun Designs is being run. There's a form of it. It's not Tom K running the show, but they're doing a pretty good job about getting parts and building new guns, and that's where it really starts. That's the seed that needs to be planted. And if they're going to build a quality product and they can maintain, the toughest part is maintaining the supply line. It's really tough to that's the hardest thing about these guns, because you don't have these massive companies like War Games out there buying 100,000 or 500,000 Rams and LPRs at a clip anymore. It's all these things they're essentially one step above bespoke parts. They're all everything is a small run. Everything is, and the prices reflect that, but the downside of that is, there's, it makes it very difficult to maintain that supply line because it's smaller runs and there's other demands on machine time and everything else. So it's tough to keep that supply line going. And I think for the Automag, it's even tougher. There's literally one company out there that's building new Automags as a company, right? So I think that there needs to be somebody out there that's going to take the plunge and say, okay, you know what? I'm going to make an investment. I'm going to make a sizable investment in these, in the Automag, and I'm going to buy, 50 guns, and we're going to commit to sell those guns. We're going to build them. We're going to do whatever we need to do. And I think that's what's really going to help get that platform off the ground. But it's tough. It's really, really tough to do that. So yeah, it's definitely a really interesting. It's really an interesting dynamic if you think about it, because it's, there's so much nostalgia for both of those platforms. I mean, I shot an Automag. I had an Automag for a couple of years, and an Autococker. I had both. And I like shooting my Automag. I loved shooting my Autococker. And the fact that Autocockers are back and they're, they're the hot thing just really makes me happy. I love everything about them. I love playing with them. I love shooting them. I love fixing them. I love building them. I love talking about them. So, that's why it's midnight. I came down here to do a 15-minute video, and then, like, what is this, like 2 hours later, running my mouth about autocockers and mechanical paintball. So that's, it's one of the reasons why I'm so, so passionate about it. So, all right. Anyway, I think I probably rambled on long enough. Yeah, they'll still get shot out by someone using a cocker. You're not wrong. But you gotta admit, Bill, I think that, I think if Automags came back, I really think it would be, a lot easier. Well, maybe not since we have the EMAC and the, see, and that's the other thing that really kind of, it's kind of a bittersweet thing. We have these cheaper electronic guns, or, well, mechanical guns. So, like, the shocker. So you have the mechanical shocker, which you can get for, pretty cheap. I think they're like $800 or $700 or something like that. And then we have the GOG Enemy, which actually that was a mechanical gun before mechanical was cool. But they were designed to be a cheap workhorse for fields to buy and use, for a rental fleet. But they're good guns. What, $100? You get something that shoots like that? Shit. I mean, that's tough to compete with. And then, but now we have Planet Eclipse, and they're putting out the EMAC, and they're really investing in that and going and pushing forward with that low end electro that can perform. There's still that. Exactly, Wes. The mags are going to have a hard time competing with the EMACs and the CVO and the M170. You're exactly right. And, it's like I got this little piece of skin on my thumb. I had to get it off because it really hurt. Sorry. If that was gross, I'm sorry. But yeah, so, I mean, the mags they're heavier. They're not going to be as fast. They're not going to be as efficient as the modern guns, and that's tough. Whereas, but you also have to remember there hasn't been a significant force behind the Automag to refine that design further in the last however many years. I think that if we had a Simon for Automags, then I think they would have a chance. Somebody who has knowledge to be able to understand the internal workings of it, and the time and money to invest in refining that design on the X valve into essentially a modern thing. All the there's modern Automags out there, but all they really do is they take it and they put it in the body. Whereas I think in order for them to truly be competitive and go after the tournament market, they need to redesign that valve. They need to figure out a way to make it more efficient, make it lighter, make it better, and be able to kind of give that to be able to market that to the people that are out there that are into Automags. And you're right, they do rely on nostalgia players. But I got to tell you, Bill, being a guy who I saw a lot of autocockers. I saw a lot of Inception autocockers. And I would say maybe 35 to 40% of my business is that nostalgia player. But the other, 55, 60, 65% is guys who have never owned an autococker before. The young guys who, they grew up playing with electros and they want an autococker. And I sell a lot of guns to guys like that. And I think part of that is, I kind of pioneered that, that super short trigger pull, which is very, very attractive to guys that are trying to make the jump from an electronic gun to an autococker. It's short, it's crisp, it does that. And guys like that. They associate a short trigger pull with their ability to, shoot the gun. So, maybe that's why. Maybe they just think I'm cute. I don't know. But I sell a lot of guns to those, to those not new players, but those younger players who've never owned autocockers before. And I think that if there was a viable medium there for that, I think that I think the Automag could move into that space as well. I think that it could attract new players, but it needs to be modernized. It needs to be made better. And I'm not saying the design is bad or anything like that, but it's old. It needs to be updated. It needs more than just, a fancy body. The whole valve needs to be, upgraded and just made more efficient and made modern. So it's midnight. I'm going to call it. I want to thank you guys for joining me tonight. We ended up having a really good conversation, which is kind of funny considering I didn't really have much to talk about. We talked about the Inception barrel muffler, which this is awesome. It's great, but it's not exactly earth-shattering, but it's an awesome addition to your Inception line. We talked about the Gopro mounts and why I love them and why you should buy them. And I showed off my super sexy signature series FLE. You need one. You need to get one of these in blue or fire. It's blue ice or fire, which it's like a red to yellow to red fade. It is so hot. So if you want one, let me know. We'll get you hooked up. We'll figure it out. Y'all know we got a ton of options. We do financing, we do layaway, we do whatever. We do trades. So talk to me. We'll get something working for you. Anyway, so I just completely use that as an excuse to show off my gun again because I'm so happy with it. But I'm going to bid you guys good night, and I'm going to go to bed. And hopefully I can beat this, whatever this sickness is that's kind of, starting to permeate my body. So have a great night, and thanks for joining, and hopefully we'll do another video soon. Thanks a bunch.